Thank you for watching. This is Michael W. Ford. I'm going to discuss actual left-hand path, spiritual lawlessness. And we're going to take it from this abstract concept, which many kind of grasp in an abstract way early on, into an actual path, an application in magic and your ideological existence. When one thinks left-hand path, of course, one can perceive that left hand or left-hand path represents a path different from others. One of those is antinomian, or against the Greek, against the law or spiritual law. What does it mean to be against spiritual law? Does it mean that if you perform a few satanic rituals, black mass, blaspheme a cross, stuff like that, that you're being spiritually lawless, much in the case of a concept of Belial? Or does it have a deeper connotation? Luciferianism, one of the key avenues of my personal initiation, has been to take my spiritual practice, which made up the early Luciferian witchcraft grimoire, up until I started with Mask and Hole into Dragon of the Two Flames. Those works were really meant for long-term practitioners, black adepts such as myself, who were already working in those areas. However, my true will indicated that Luciferianism had to expand, and it was a compulsion, it was an instinctual drive, it's my passion. So my passion in life, and in the process trespassing spiritual laws, was a long-term process, and I feel as if I'm just getting started. First of all, to trespass in Luciferianism, or left-hand path, to trespass a spiritual or perceived law or boundary generally means, when someone first thinks of it, beyond the spiritual, blaspheming Yahweh or Jesus and society. It also means something that could be criminal activity or things like that. And more often than not, people kind of put that in the back of their head and confirm that without even really knowing. Now, left-hand path, if you compare it to the Varma Magra or the tantric avenues, it's doing opposite, or opening your perception and understanding and gaining wisdom from exploring areas you normally wouldn't explore. Well, for Luciferianism, it's not just that per se, but it's something beyond that. One of my initiatory points was I had to understand the origins of the old gods, the pantheons, all of those which we work with and revere in Luciferianism, and all those that were demonized and called Satan by the Christians. I wanted to know the origins, the dates, the time period from Iron Age to Bronze Age, and the evidence of the archeological and etymological origins of what would become Luciferian deific mask, which are gods and demons representing a power in nature and in relation to the self. Now, when I was very young, talking 13 to 18, if I would get into an argument with a Christian, which, I was in black metal and doing a lot of like satanic path workings and pushing myself and so forth, I got into a lot of arguments. However, it became more of an argument of my will against your will, which was a good exercise for a angst-filled teenager, but of little use to the long-term perception of Luciferian, what would become Luciferianism. then it was Satanism. What I started to do, because I didn't know what were the origins of the adversary, and I'm not talking about it was a pagan Roman deity or blah blah blah. I wanted to know from evidence, temple evidence, records, that the nature of the name and what the name meant, the root word in the native language. And one of my crossing of the abyss experiences in my initiation is what becomes the mundane practice every day of doing this research, performing my works in a spiritual sense, away from prying eyes, and documenting and presenting the old pantheons anew. I want Luciferians, Satanists, or occultists who may have an interest in the grimoires and what I'm doing and what contributors are doing, is to provide a true spiritual self-liberation via history, fact, and experience in magical practice, or ideology in practice, into a world filled with Christians who are way too lazy to research for themselves. The public, as a general, are sheep and like to be told what to do. That's why you have TV programs, etc., that push that. But there is a minority who want to know more. And that's what Luciferian work is aimed to do, is to provide the history, so in an argument you will be able to defend yourself and really knock them down to the final sentence, which is, well, it just comes down to faith. Luciferianism is about breaking the idea of a faith that you haven't experienced. As I've defined, spiritual lawlessness, spiritual rebellion, in a application that is realistic and completely knowable, or in a term of experience, represents the driving force in Luciferian ideology and magic. One of the key factors of obtaining knowledge is often misunderstood. Luciferians just want knowledge. No, we don't want just knowledge. Knowledge that's useful, that can be inspiring, and that we can apply to achieve results, obtain goals. That experience becomes wisdom, understanding of connections, how energy connects, how we think, how we speak, how we communicate and express our desires every day, is the very mundane foundation of real magic and sorcery. In Dragon of the Two Flames, what I've called my almost new beginning of my daemon, or Azal Lucel, my true will, is to express a foundation, present a foundation in history with etymology, the study of the name, the origin, and the encircling power. And I talk about within the name is power, or the word, of these gods and demons, and how they manifest through us and our designs. I'll read from the incantation of Batna Aqualatana, which is the seven-headed serpent known as Leviathan. Hail thou, Batana Aqualatana, primordial king of great oceans, who shapes great monsters and serpents, who is adorned in the splendor of divinity, from which we derive I summon thee. Open the gates of my mind through sleep. Let dreams and nightmares carry me off, that I may know myself asib mileh sulat yam. I will return from the depths of the sea. Let me be guided by your powerful form, Litan, the crooked serpent. Who shall guide my walk into darkness, from which I shall ascend in self-defined light? For it shall be, for I behold the power within. That is the essence of left-hand path. Self-directed, determined initiation. It's nothing that you do a ritual to and the whole world opens. It's a process, a tool in which you will enter the depths of darkness and use it with the light or intelligence, the consciousness you have within. Thinking independently is very important. How you apply that is up to you. In Luciferianism, the one thing I could hope that anyone would do is take Dragon of the Two Flames and my forthcoming works and say, okay, here's some references, here's some, this is where the religions began. Because you can point out to people that Christianity is no more significant, other than what it is in mass numbers and propaganda, than any other self-directed, inspirational spirituality or ideology. Luciferianism is more rational than those because it involves real day-to-day conscious directed thought and, as a center of being, knowing that you're responsible and accountable for what you do. Ritual is to inspire energy, thought, and power towards a specific goal. Not just to call up demons and have your neighbor cursed. That would be probably the most ridiculous use. But to build your private personal empire that you wish in life, whatever that may be. Luciferianism, as you'll see with the forthcoming Necromanian, the satanic cult of Mask, is on the Egyptian pantheon. The one thing that Luciferianism reveals is that all of the pantheons with the destructive and creative and balanced deific mask or gods are more ancient than Yahweh, more potent than any concept of Jesus, and have more of a realistic grasp or connectivity to the human mind and in nature. The laws of morality, the slave mentality of Christianity, tells you to deny everything that you are. Tells you to yearn to join Jesus and Yahweh in heaven. And to always do the right thing. Well, the right thing is subjective. We have a moral and ideological foundation that we should build and act upon. Whereas if you have interaction in society, which everyone does, it should be assisting and productive. Luciferians don't want to destroy the world. Christians want to destroy the world because heaven awaits. We wish to possess the world within our realm of being. Balance in nature, creation, destruction. Do not harm unless you're in self-defense or some situation in that way. Do not do ill or nasty things to people who do not deserve it. Support people who help themselves, not just charity. There's a difference. Look to the Hellenic ruler cult, the Egyptian pantheon, the ancient gods as I present in Dragon of the Two Flames, and you'll get what I'm saying with the ideology. That is spiritual lawlessness. Because when you do this, you will know and have confidence that you do not need the back of your mind anymore to have that little thing that says, what if there is a real God? There's not. You are the vessel of the manifestation or the epiphanies of that God, which we call our true will or daemon. Thank you. And for forthcoming videos, we have many in store and a lot of interesting surprises. Thank you.